Welcome, everybody, to another edition of SBC University. I'm Yusuf El. Today, we have in the studio again, Stephen Brewer, private banker extraordinaire. Yesterday, we had a fantastic webinar. Mr. Brewer delivered the goods, and we have some more coming your way. How you doing, sir? Good to see you today.
Doing good, doing good. Excited to get back on this topic. I think we had a great time last night.
I think so. I was look, man, I was kind of, I was just surprised. You know, I know you, but I guess I didn't know you. I didn't know you were going to get down like that. Wow. I was also very impressed with some of the participants as well. You know, it brought out a lot of very intelligent people. Had some very intelligent women who came on who had their stuff already arranged and ready to go.
Yes.
You know, and that was very, very interesting. And you provided step-by-step methodology that anyone can see, and they can get that information, and they can see a pathway into actually perhaps monetizing debt or creating some sort of structure for themselves.
Yeah, that was exciting to be able to share this not only to your viewers, but I've decided that I'll start bringing it to the masses because it's really a well-kept secret. However, it's out in the open. And as I was telling the individuals at the webinar yesterday, what triggered my curiosity was in 2008. Like many builders and developers, we went through catastrophe. We lost everything, bankruptcy. I even had personal friends that were lenders that committed suicide. They had extended so much money into the market. And it was just amazing of the effect that the economy had on everybody. But what was so shocking and surprising, as I told the individuals in the webinar, was I'm still seeing commercial units going up. I'm seeing apartment buildings going up. I'm seeing subdivisions going up. And I'm like, how? And that's when I took everything I had to find out how and why. And that led me on my journey is understanding private placement memorandums and capital raises through private sources. And it was truly a kept secret because I would go and try to pull information, pull in the warranty deeds and trying to see who is the lender on these particular transactions. And just quite frankly, it was private information that I couldn't access. And over the years, I've been in this industry now some 17 years, and the stuff that I have learned and I'm learning, it's all kept secret. And in fact, on one of your previous shows, I told you someone had given me a call after we did the live interview not to share the information. That intentionally is for a select group of people. And I understood what they were saying, but I didn't understand what they were saying because in reality, it's being kept from a certain community of individuals that haven't taken it upon themselves to really dig in and learn it. And so I guess you can say my message to the group on the webinar was, why won't you take these legitimate private structures that fall well within the SEC guidelines and regulations and exceptions, DTC bond structures that individuals can utilize under a regulated section of the SEC rules regulations that allow individuals to create corporate bonds, private bond, entity bonds, and utilize them for wealth. And while many said that when they originally got on the webinar, they were expecting a different twist on PPM, private placement memorandums, on the DTC understanding. And so when I open up their mind to what reality could be for them and their family as it comes to creating generational wealth, they were very receptive to hearing what I had to say. And so that was exciting for me. It really was.
You know, I want to go back and touch on what you were saying about the information being closely guarded and them not wanting it disseminated to the general public. However, after reviewing what you were saying, I think it has its own protection mechanisms already built in. Number one being, are you willing to go through all the necessary steps to achieve this? Just because you have the information doesn't mean it's something that is easy for
That's
just
correct.
anyone to do, even if you are provided the roadmap. I think it would be, just even me just listening, you definitely want a mentor to walk along with you with this, man. There's not nothing you want to do on your own.
Well, I have 17 years of mentorship from failure, and I'm creating a master class for a lot of your individuals because they wanted to go further, and I'm teaching 17 years of failure. I've had my successes, but I've had far, far more failures that I learned from.
Give me an example of that. Touch on that a little bit, because I know we spent some time, years ago, and you talked a lot about, the pitfalls that are involved in this particular space. Could you kind of touch on that a little bit?
Well, there's pitfalls in the information that's provided to you. A lot of individuals in our space purport themselves to be very financially savvy, and they will come across that they have financially savvy legal counsel or accountant individuals that will provide you information that they're deeming as true, when in fact it could be false or fake. Well, based on your lack of understanding of instruments and being able to do a true deep dive compliance on information that you're provided, you really can find yourself in a difficult situation, even perhaps staring down a federal indictment if you're not, if you're not really understanding what you're looking at and you're presenting something to be real that is not. Early on in my journey in this, I had received a numerous amount of medium-term notes that were fake, fraudulently structured, with the intent that I would pay a fee to receive these notes into our account, and had people to go through extreme measures to try to make that happen with an upfront fee. Things of that nature is being provided documents that are not legal, and you find yourself being gullible because you really want this to happen. Kind of like in your space, there's a lot of information that's provided that makes an individual that's struggling financially gullible.
Right.
Documents that you can go and put stamps on.
That look official.
Correct, look official, and you find yourself trying to present this to the courthouse, or you're trying to present it to some bank officer to offset a debt, and these individuals just simply were gurgitating information that they've heard and selling it, and you find yourself again in a vulnerable situation. And in a vulnerable situation, we tend to make decisions that are not too favorable on our behalf. So going back to your question, even structuring private placement memorandums, there are factors that fall under SEC exemptions that even allow you to participate in this arena. And in participation, there's always safety mechanisms that are in place that cannot be ignored. And if they are ignored, you can find yourselves in difficult situations. So when dealing with bond structuring, corporate bond structuring, entity structuring, and tying those to private placement memorandums, there's documentation that is required that you can't overlook. And it only takes one document to be out of place to make a whole year's worth of work go down the drain.
Wow.
So compliance, deep compliance.
Yeah, it was compliance. And, we were discussing that. And that's what I noticed as well, is that compliance is a very, very important aspect to all of this. And, I noticed you said that it's kind of replete with a lot of fraud too. I can see how that could happen. We have a lot of individuals who come in through the door who actually master the terminology. Is that correct?
That's correct.
They can speak to speak.
They can speak to talk.
They can talk to talk, but they can't demonstrate it.
No, you will not find individuals that can talk it and produce it. It's called the receipts, especially in the space of individuals taking some of their personal certificates. I won't get into that because I'm never going to challenge people's methodologies or their structures that they're trying to pursue. What I'm saying is that in a square peg, when you're trying to bring a round peg and fit it into the DTC structure or private placement memorandum structures, they don't fly. But these individuals will tell you that they do. And you're saying, fair enough, fair enough. I believe you. Just show me where you've gotten it to fit.
Exactly.
And then they'll say, well, I know such and such who did, but you're purporting it as successful, yet you can't show me how to find that success. And what I was sharing with the audience in the webinar yesterday is, aren't you tired of that? Let me show you a method that's real, that's structured through the SEC, through the DTC, through regulations that are real. And then as you look around you, as you're driving downtown or whatever your city is, or out in the suburbs, and you're seeing these subdivisions coming up, and you're seeing these commercial buildings coming up, and you're seeing all these things going up, and they're basically structured as private placement memorandums and bonds that are structured to do a capital raise. And so I'm challenging them and your audience now that they need to stop, understand this process, and start really looking around them and seeing that they too can do what these individuals are doing. And I challenged them, what was the difference in them and you?
Exactly.
And what did every one of them say?
They're doing it, and well, we said they're doing it, and you're not. That's it.
Not
That's
yet.
the only difference. Not yet.
And we're going to say not yet. And so what was so exciting about the individuals that was in the webinar was, again, their astuteness, their attention to detail, and guess what? Their willingness to adapt to methods that are real, to no longer chase these methods that come over in a hypothetical situation or a theoretical situation. Again, it's not an attack on their method, but what does it do for putting money in the pocket of your family, creating generational wealth? Putting yourself in a structure. We had one of your callers who came and said, hey, I already have my PPM in place. I already have my bond structure in place. I just need to understand how to categorize it and how to put it. And we'll follow up with her to help her structure that. You had another individual who find themselves trying to structure their EV charging station business, who has tried to do a capital raise, but we suggested that he encompass his capital raise in other areas, and he had already gotten that suggestion, and I second that suggestion. So much that individuals were willing to take a whole new look at private ordering, private structuring, and take advantage of it.
You know, this is some powerful information. I get the feeling that I'm on the chessboard, the world chessboard. Mm-hmm. You know, in this game, you know, it's like dealing with the way and the creativity that is involved in it is also attractive to me, because you can creatively construct something as long as you can add value and demonstrate that value, and you can offer it to someone perhaps for, you know.
Yes. Absolutely. The creativity comes in this. The fact that as you're preparing a private placement memorandum, you do not have to, these are not documents that you place in the SEC. You're not regulated by the private. SEC because you're private. It's just that you're private. And the flip side to that is that your disclosures and everything that you're structuring has to have a clean exit strategy, has to have a default strategy, has to have a value strategy. And as long as you're exercising these documents and structuring them in a way that your buyer of your bond or the investor in your bond structure, if they are in agreement, through an indenture agreement, everything is good.
Everything on the private side is about agreements.
That's right.
Yeah, agreements.
Four corners of the agreement.
The four corners of the document. And that's what we're going to be showing all of you in the mentorship program. Going to be walked step by step by Mr. Brewer. So you can see how this actually goes and you can structure this yourself. It is, how long is it? The course is going to be what?
The course is going to be 8 weeks. We're launching the course for your group last night. And I thought about it. I'm going to be consistent in creating 8-week courses. And during that period of time, we're going to analyze what it is you want to create in terms of, let's say it's a development. We've heard several individuals on the webinar that had projects that they wanted to structure, get funded, and raise capital for. And they pretty much had all their thought process and ideals in order. But now how do we take private placement memorandum and the Reg D 506B and 506C, and how do we structure it within what they're trying to do? So we're taking a legal private ordering structure that's regulated and put in place by rules, regulations, and procedures, guidelines to follow. What better way than to keep running around trying to put something together that we just keep finding elusive?
You know, I think a lot of the things are elusive, though. You know, I've been in this space for a while. It's because people don't really research matters the way that they should. A lot of this is not the fault of the space, it's the fault of the participants in it by not doing the proper due diligence. And when it comes to something like what you're doing, due diligence is very important because we're talking about compliance.
Correct.
Okay, and you've already expressed that one document out of place can collapse the entire structure.
Absolutely.
That sounds to me like something that is worthy of, you know, mentorship is do what I do and you'll get what I get. We're going to remove the uncertainty in this particular space and give you a stable foundation to stand on. And that's what you're offering. Am I correct?
That's correct. We're going to go step by step with each individual. Typically, I don't want the class any larger than 10 individuals because it's a lot of work.
10 people.
If you go
10 people.
Yeah, and that's serious people. That's individuals that really want to change their lives.
We know it's going to be serious because there's a price tag on it, right?
Well, now let's talk about the price tag. In reality, you know, attorneys and real individuals in this space, they charge roughly around anywhere from $35,000 to $55,000 to do this. So my price tag is relatively low compared to that. But it's also a way of me giving back to individuals with the hope and intentions that the weight falls on them to take this back to their family, to teach their children these mechanisms, these structures. And again, I always highlight what is the difference in an individual that's building a high rise between them and you. You know, they're doing it now and you're not. So I challenge you to understand and take time to fully understand how these processes work. And many of you that are developers out there, many of you that are builders, and many of you that are doing fix and flips, and you really want to take it to the next level, but you just can't seem to find the funding. Banks don't fund these type of deals. There's a limitation to them. There's so much skin in the game. The beautiful thing about capital raises is you don't have to have any money.
No.
You just have to have the idea, the structure, the wherewithal, the ability to show the value, the ability to show an exit strategy, the ability to show redemption process in the event that there's a default. And if you can put all that together, you can win.
That sounds like all the elements of the contract that you engage in. You have to be able to demonstrate and substantiate the things that are in there.
That's correct. That's correct. And it's a beautiful thing about two of the regulations, exemptions, 506B and then there's 506C. 506B is a structure that is designed to raise capital between family and friends and individuals that have a certain net worth over 200,000. That's disposable in the event that there's a default. And just like we found in the webinar, there were individuals that could tap into that. But under 506C is the most beautiful thing about that. This is a solicitation that you commonly see on television when individuals says, hey, we have this structure and we want you to invest. And for individuals that are influencers on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook that have all these followers, they're in the most unique position to, behind the camera, structure something worthy because they have the influence. They have the ability to put these type of transactions together and now take it to another level and do a capital raise.
Let me ask you a question on that scenario, because I know that scenario came up about the social media influence and everything. Could you pinpoint where the value will be obtained from that in a structure like that? Where is the value derived from?
Repeat that so I can make sure I understand.
I was saying the value of, why would somebody want to invest in a social media influencer who's put together a structure like this?
Oh, that's a very good question. Very good question. First of all, an individual that, number one, has influence, an individual have decided to follow them and they're comfortable with them. They feel a sense of connection. And like most individuals, they like to be in a room with successful, influential people. And so now you're able to bridge your financial success as an investor with an influencer, which could now spill over into other areas of their business. You're talking about now creating some synergy between technically two powerful people, okay? An influencer is powerful. They have the ability to influence people to look at what they're doing on a regular basis. That brings value to angel investors that perhaps they say, you know what, hey, I have X amount of dollars but I would like for you in trade for this, I would like for you to come over and bring your influence to what I'm working on. There's so many different beautiful things about the private structuring that it allows you to just be creative in your thought process or the approach. And I'm working with individuals that are doing just like this scenario. They're building their influence with the intentions that they want to go and put together a project based on 506C that allow them to do and solicit and market and email to raise capital for their project. But the advantage is this: as you structure the project with all the correct parties involved, whether it's your a builder-developer relationship, or whether it's a architect, designer, it's an engineer, and you put all those together, along with your influence and the ability to raise capital, there's an end result of success. And typically there's a lot of money at the end of that rainbow.
You know, these classes, let's get back on these classes because I'm really looking forward to this. What can we expect from the classes?
From the classes, we're going to take a direct approach to structure. We're going to understand the rules, regulations, and procedures that you can't circumvent. We're going to make sure you have that down, okay?
Right.
Once you have those rules, regulations, and procedures down and you're committed to understanding that, then the next is the formulation of your entity.
Right.
Okay, we're going to take your entity and make sure the entity is now qualified to raise capital.
Okay.
After that entity is proven that it's qualified to raise capital, let's say that you have board members that have to give board resolutions, all those structures will literally be in place. Regulations, entity structure. Now, what's your plan? What's your plan to get this deal laid out, visualized, making sure that it has all the elements of the structure, such as value, repayment, what interest these investors will be looking to receive on their money an exit strategy or a payback strategy and a default strategy, which all falls in the PPM.
Question.
Yes.
Are there certain structures that are more favorable as opposed to others? Is there something that, you find that investors would probably lean more toward? Because I know we can create this a variety of things you can do, but is there something that is, that could be highlighted above everything else with these structures?
Yes, there is. And again, this comes down to what your taste is.
Okay.
Your audience have always expressed their desire to stay private. Okay.
Right.
But on the webinar, there was an individual that was not really entirely stuck to staying private, and they were willing to take their corporation and go public into the SEC so that they could actually utilize the stock exchange, the ability to get people to invest in their company on a public status. So there's a public and then there's a private. The difference is, as you're structuring your corporation to go public, there's a host of documents that are required, and they're very strenuous, very detailed. One, it requires you to have legal counsel that's willing to give a legal analysis of your corporate structure, the validity of it, the value of it, the documentation that's provided by a CPA of all of your P&L statements, all the information that shows the value of your corporation, because you would be issuing stocks against that corporation. That corporation, let's say, hypothetically, you're creating a corporation and you want to raise capital, and ultimately you want an entire group of shareholders. Most corporations may start off with 500 million shares. And as they take their company public, sometimes depending on the space, whether the space is tech or whether it's minerals, gas, or oil, determines what your opening shares will come out to be. So imagine that you have a company that you want to take public that perhaps, let's just say you already know it's worth $5 million, but it's continuously every year it's building momentum. The value is constantly going up. And you have a forecast that in 3 years, that today it's 5 million, but in 3 years it might be worth 50 million. Okay.
Right.
So now you can issue shares based on those analysis, future value. And let's say in the opening bell, your shares start out and you have over 500 million shares that you want to sell, and it goes through a qualified investment buyer who has to structure this properly through DTC and all the criterias that will put you on that stock exchange, even to the point of getting a ticker identifier for your exchange. Now imagine the opening bell and you open up, and I'm gonna be generous, at 49 cents a share. At 49 cents a share, what did you just raise?
49 cents a share, and you have how many shares?
500 million.
49 cents a share. Because we got 500 million. I like doing this.
And these are
$245 million.
correct. These are institutional buyers that immediately, as soon as they read your prospectus, you have to generate a prospectus that has to pass scrutiny. It's an entire, perhaps a 200-300 page document that spells out start to finish value. These institutional buyers buy these, okay? And quite frankly, they're gamblers because they could really care less, because here's what they're going to do, right? They're going to open it at 49 cents and they're going to drive that price to basically about $1.20 in a short period of time. And then they're going to jump out of it. So it's a game that's played. But even as it goes up and come back down, you're still going to hover around 60 cents. Okay. What did you just raise?
$245 million.
For a company that was $5 million. So why wouldn't you want to take your company public?
It would make me think, okay, IPO offering, I get it, but you got to have something that, I'm sitting here trying to wrap my mind around the fact, why would me as an investor give somebody $245 million? What's the idea?
You didn't. Here's what you just gave. You only bought 100 shares at 49 cents. How much is that?
Nothing.
So imagine institutional buyers and institutional sellers dumping it on the market in increments. These are incremental buyers. This is not one investor.
I'm not reading this right. It's $49? No, that can't be right. 40, it's time 100.
Time 100. You're correct. So I'm a passive investor, and I says, ooh, this just hit the market. I only have $100 to spend, and I'm gonna go buy these particular stocks at 49 cents each.
Wow.
So imagine literally, I don't know, perhaps 1 million buyers out there spot buying like that.
Let's see. So I got 100 shares. It raised up to $60 a share. Like you said, hovers around there. Time 100. I made $6,000. So they doing it on a bigger scale than that, though.
Absolutely.
Just generating money out of thin air.
That's correct. So you could go public, and of course, what comes with public is scrutiny. Not only that, once you go public, you're no longer just the CEO, but you have to answer to a shareholders group. So the question that you ask is, which is the better vehicle? Well, it depends on your tolerance of information sharing. Private, on the other hand, there's not a lot of information sharing that's placed with the SEC. Your PPM memorandum, private placement memorandum, is not placed with the SEC. Your indenture agreements and subscription agreements, none of those agreements are privy to the SEC. There's only one document that you have to file with the SEC on the 506C, B, and C, is after 15 days of making a purchase or an investment, you just simply file a notification with the SEC, but it's not to validate your deal or anything like that, to even get any information. It's just basically putting that particular transaction within the system. So the question would be, what is the appetite of the individual that's trying to set up that structure? And so me personally, I push for the structure of private placement memorandums and capital raises through that process. But I also am working on a public offering myself and bringing a company to public.
I try to convey that information to my students, that you can't switch from public to private, private to public. It's about when you're operating in which domain, what rules apply, and the
Correct.
public has a certain kind of rules. But people think, well, I'm private. It's just strictly private. I can go everything. It's a lack of understanding, I know. But it is important that you understand privacy, because as you can see, we're talking about private money, private bonds, and so forth. This is outside the regulatory authority of the government. Am I correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And so that was the thing that I was talking with you about, the need to bring this education not only to this space, but really to a lot of spaces, because it's just not known. It's just, this information is, again, and I won't even use the word as a best kept secret, because it's not. It's right there in public view. One has to be curious how you can see individuals developing all this property, and yet we're finding it very difficult to do it ourselves when we have the desire, we have the willingness, we certainly have the smarts to do it. So what stands in the way? Well, quite frankly, not knowing that these type of private structures even exist.
I would definitely co-sign that, but I also think it's execution as well. That's why earlier I talked about the internal protection mechanisms that safeguard the information, because there's a lot of hurdles that you have to jump in order to accomplish this. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. But they're not as strenuous as you think. It's more strenuous on the private side. You just have to have the tenacity. You just have to have the willingness to see it through. And like with anything, opening a business, you have to see it through. You have to change your mentality. You have to mentally structure yourself to go the distance and not give up, not tire out. And when it seems difficult, keep at it and keep at it again. Because it's not the success that you're truly going to learn from. It's the failure. It's the falling down and keep getting back up. That reminds me of an old, wise, I guess you can call it a tale. There was a young man who, this fat kid just kept pouncing on this real little skinny kid. And he would just get him. He thought it was so funny that he would just pin him down. And the little kid said to him, while you may be holding me down on the outside, I'm standing up on the inside. And I'm always reminded of that we get pinned down in life. This system that's designed to not see us make it. And when I say us, I mean people in general. It's technique for 1% of individuals that have connections and are willing to put all these things in place. But how do you get into that 1%? Well, you stand up on the inside, and you don't take no as the answer. You take no as the I'm not right now, and I'm going to learn from why you said no to me. And you keep going and you keep going and you do it. And then even if you can't do it, what do? You pass it on to your children, and you make sure they get it, because at some point, someone is going to crack the code.
Hey, look, I'm tired, man. Let's end it right
Okay.
now, and we'll shoot some more later. But
No, that's cool.
Hey, well, look, we're starting the mentorship program.
Correct. First of all, we're gonna do another webinar.
Okay.
We're gonna do a webinar, and we're going to go ahead and invite individuals to attend the webinar to see if they want to participate in the 8-week course. The webinar is $297.
You just made a lie out of me. I was saying that people ain't gonna never see $297 again, and here it come again.
Well, I didn't want to raise it. I wanted to keep
Okay.
it. I wanted to keep it consistent, and you did say that. But we're going to do another webinar at $297, and there's no. I know you wanted to raise it, but let's just keep it at that. You know, it makes it simple. We're going to be doing that in roughly 2 weeks. And for those that are serious, don't get on if you have other ideology that you want to inject. We're simply going to learn strict procedures as it relates to DTC and the structure of private placement memorandums.
In other words, y'all, look, we're just showing you the framework of what actually is. Okay,
What it
It's
is.
not any theories or
Correct.
assumptions or anything like that. You're being provided a roadmap of success that actually works. Okay, and I'm looking forward to that. And so the mentorship program, you gonna kick that off yet?
Yes, we're going to kick that off. The goal is to kick it off this coming Monday.
Okay.
And if not this coming Monday, we'll schedule it the next coming Monday.
Is it gonna run every 8 weeks?
It's going to run pretty much for 8 weeks at a time, and we will basically have 10 people per class, and it will be held on a Monday or a Tuesday, depending on which class has signed up. And we're gonna dig all the way in, and at the end of the 8 weeks, you will have a detailed private placement structure to your likings.
Wow. Well, hey, there you have it. Mr. Steve Brewer, we're going to run it back one more time. Look, the link is under the description of this video. Seating is limited. Make sure you get in. Also, if you attended the last webinar, the link for the mentorship program is available to you as well. You need to get in now because there's only 10 seats. He's only taking 10 people. It's only taking 10 people, y'all. You saw the people that were there. Make sure you get on that right now as well.
That's right. Don't miss the opportunity. Look, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. This is for you to change the trajectory of your family's life. You're able to truly be a wealth through private structuring, and we'll show you how. This is not new, but it may be new to you, but we're going to teach you how. So be in the class, be in the webinar. Hey, let's learn it.
All right, y'all. We'll see you at the webinar, and I'll see you in the mentorship program. Y'all have a nice day. Peace, everyone.
See you soon. Take care.